Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Umbani Chronicles, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey everybody,
He is the creator of Eve of Insurrection and Eve of Reclamation. How you doing today?
doing good. Doing
Yeah,
good. Ready to talk about some Sandman and get into these very interesting past two episodes, 5 and 6.
yeah. We are going through episodes 5 and 6. So please, if you have not watched The Sandman on Netflix, please come back after you've watched those two episodes for spoiler alert. The first one, I believe, was 24/7 was the title of that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
And it, man, I was
And
like,
some things was happening. A
yeah,
lot of
I was
things
like,
was happening.
nobody freaking, like, neither of y'all warned me about this episode. It was weird.
Let's do the recap. Let's get
It
to the
would kind of
you
have,
recapping.
like, the presentation makes you see, we start with John D,
Mm-hmm.
who
Yep.
is, was it Ethel Cribbs' son? Her real name
Mm-hmm.
was Ethel Cribbs, and he's got the ruby of the Sandman still. He has it repurposed, and he's the only one that can use it currently.
Yep.
Um, but they make it seem like it's going to be a real mundane episode at first. He's just, John D's just chilling.
Yep.
He's going to go to the little
In his slippers, in the same slippers and
slippers and the
pajamas,
pajamas with
just
the
walking
jacket
around.
Corinthian gave him, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go hit up this diner real quick and sit in the diner and get me something to eat. Now,
Yep.
did he change old girl's name at the beginning of the episode?
What, bet?
Yeah,
Did he change it some from what was it originally? Did
I
you
think
know?
it was something like with. I got to rewatch the episode, but it seemed like he was like testing the Ruby out. I
Oh,
thought maybe he sat down because she had just said something to someone else, and her name was something else. I might be wrong though. I thought it was something
I
with
mean,
an
she was
L.
talking to everybody. She knew
Yeah,
everybody's names.
and then he did something, and the ruby kind of glowed, and then they flash her name badge as something else. It's Bet all of a sudden. I thought maybe he was testing out, him wishing something to happen and it materializing like instantaneously.
Oh, he got his wish.
Yeah, it was so weird, dude. It was like a train wreck. John D is a freaking menace, boy. This whole
Yeah, I
attitude,
just want everybody to tell the truth. I
tell
want
the
a more
truth.
honest world. And I have questions. So when he said, so I was like, when they're talking, I think she's like, yeah, we're gonna. I think she says something about like gonna go get his coffee or whatever, but she's like, you better come back in time before make my dream come true.
Yeah,
And he makes his dream come true, and he wants this more honest world. But I don't. I'm curious, why does it have to go into like when the world becomes more honest, people become more violent, sexual, and what else? I don't know,
yeah.
more primal, whatever you want to go about that.
And if you listen to the news, like stuff
Shit's
is going
falling
crazy
apart.
all over the place.
I'm like, it's climate change. I'm like, all this world catastrophes are happening. I'm like, it was like a oil. I think in the beginning they're like, yeah, truck had to spill some hazardous materials. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but it gets worse progressively. Like,
Yeah,
and
he's
which
like,
is
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. They're all the relationships, the small town happenings just get more worse and worse. Like you said, like uh, the waitress Bet can't talk to Marsh, and old girl is messed up because she had a fight the night before with
Yeah,
her girl,
Judy can't find her girlfriend Donna. So, and
and the
I,
married couple comes in.
Gary and Kate. God,
That was
Gary and
it
Kate.
was
I felt
all
bad for Gary. Ga- Gary wants that double decker cheeseburger, but Kate's, we're going to be disciplined, but get it if you want to. And I'm like, okay, Gary, so you're not going to stand up for yourself and get that cheeseburger because
well. No, he did because after the influence of John is there.
yeah. Oh, he gets his cheeseburger, but
He gets
only
like
because
three of them.
yeah. With which I have questions. Why are we living in a time loop? Like, why were they looping?
Yeah, because they went to leave and then came back and got greeted as if they just stepped in for the first time again. Like, oh, you two lovebirds, how you doing? It's your anniversary. I'm like, we've already done this weird like Groundhog's Day type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the stuff kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I knew something was up with Marsh.
What?
Punk.
What gave it away for you? What gave it
Because he
away?
wouldn't talk to her. He like wouldn't
You're
barely
like, you're
acknowledge her.
weird.
And
He's
yeah, it
like,
was being really weird. And it was obvious that Bet was like
really
waiting to say
attractive.
something. You seen her go into the bathroom and do her
Fixing
makeup
herself
all
up.
night. Yeah, she's like, oh, I'm finna snatch this one real quick. And
I'm like, whoa, Bet, you really. And then she was getting on my nerves. I was dying laughing in the beginning where Bet was trying to set up Judy and Mark, and Judy had an attitude.
super
And then
attitude.
Mark was like, "Hi, I'm Mark," and then she's like, "Hi, I'm
And I'm
gay," and
gay.
I'm like, I was like, "Yo, she got him." She was hilarious, and so I was just like, I found that was funny, but also I don't know, I felt Bet was annoying me the entire time. Like even upon rewatching, I'm just like, and you kind of hear more about her as they're going through these kind of loops that like Bet has this kind of motivate this dream. Her personal dream is to write. She wants to be a writer, but she's like talking to Gary and Kate about her son coming back in town from college. So like I don't really have time to write, and I'm like, ah, you're
I
one
mean,
of
but that's
those.
realistic though.
It's very realistic, but it hurt. It hurts for me to watch. For me as a creator or someone, or you, we're both creators. We're following our passions. But
Yeah, well, you
she
know
was
how it
like
is.
but she was overly pouring herself into other people. Like she was a little too like she was very invested in everyone around her but herself.
Yeah.
And
I'm just
she
saying
was
from
just
the aspect that you've been at tables. I mean, now you're a comic creator in addition to just being an artist. I'm a writer in addition
hmm
to being a comic creator with you. Like how many? Like if you had a nickel for every time someone comes to your table and is like, I'm about to have a project out, or I'm about to write a book, I'm about to write my comic, and then they have like a zillion different excuses as to why
yeah.
they haven't got started, why they haven't finished. That's basically what Bet was doing.
That was Bet. I was like, "Oh, Bet, you're getting on my nerves." No. And then, she keeps trying to give Marsh signs.
Yeah, she keeps trying to push him. I was like, this is, and as people were getting more and
More
more
honest.
overtly honest with each other, and things just started steeply going downhill quick. And when Marsh had his reveal, I was like, oh hell
Let's
no.
look. let's no. Let's. Oh yes. Let's get to Marsh's reveal. Let's start
Yeah,
there and then work our way around the room because there's a lot
yeah,
of things.
yeah, because they started they Kate and Gary were kind of a slow boil where they would
Yeah.
you could tell they were just needling each other and then it just got worse and worse
Or
and
my
worse.
sandwich.
But at first, Marsh wasn't giving her anything, like nothing at all, no feedback. He barely acknowledged her. He would like grunt and keep doing whatever it was he was doing back there in the kitchen. He talked to the I don't know if that was the waitress or the other cook, I guess, that left. I guess shift was over for the lady that was back there in the kitchen, and he was like, "Are you by yourself? I don't see nobody on the floor."
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
And she's like, "No, Bet's here." And he's like, "All right." He was really talkative with her. And then she left, and as soon as the other girl left and Bet came in there, he clammed up quick, like he was not silenced. And you could tell her, you see her just looking at him, staring laser beams to the back of his head, like waiting for him to turn around and
Why
acknowledge
won't
her.
you
And she
talk to
kept,
me? Why won't you talk
yeah,
to
she
me?
kept
Like,
throwing out little, little hints and
I want you to
little.
come over. It was it hurt. It just hurt watching her just try so hard. I want you to come over.
Why would I do that? It's because we can make
Why would I do
we can watch something, and then my son he'll go to his room, and we can go
We
to
can go
mine.
to mine.
He's
We
like,
can go to mine.
yeah, I was like, I like this. Okay, what you got to say to that, Marsh? And I'm like, oh, he's like, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I was like,
You're just lonely. You're lonely. You're just looking for somebody because you're bored. And I'm
damn,
like,
that's cold.
yo.
And I thought at first, like, okay, well, that's pretty harsh. That's the worst.
He said, that's harsh. Okay.
She
But we
got
find out next.
flat out, and then he was like, no, but wait, there's more. I'm like, why? We don't need any more at this point. Just
Oh, we needed the
let
truth.
her crash down. He said, yeah, because. Well, why do you come over? Because I like having dinner with y'all. Someone else
And
can
your
cook for a
son.
change.
Bernard.
Me and your boy get to hang out.
What?
I'm like, uh-oh. He said that, I knew it was going bad. I was
He
like,
said, uh-oh. And then we find out he's having sex with Bet's son.
Sometimes he gives it to me and he's really knows what he's doing. Oh no. At that point, I was like, dude, where is this going? What is happening right now? And John D is back there just eating it because he can see through into the kitchen. And it's like he's like, yes, I have.
He's like tweaking the dial up on it, like, yo, he's really pushing this.
So she gets mad and throws some stuff at him and storms off, and she's in the bathroom crying. I'm like, oh, this is. I was like, well, let's see what's rest for the rest of the cast here.
All right, let's get the. And then we have Kate and Mark. Bet has decided.
Mark?
Oh, so, no! I'm talking about the CEO of Vanguard.
Gary.
That's Kate.
I thought his name was Gary.
Oh no! I feel like we need to separate him because of what's happening with.
Kate and Mark. The young man comes in for the
interview. Mark.
The interview. I forget what the company was called, but for some reason,
Vanguard. It's called Vanguard.
I kept thinking of Vought from the boys because it started with a V. I was like,
yeah, basically.
Yeah, Vanguard. Some company. And he's like, why don't you just do the interview right here? And
like what?
And he's like, what is going on? And I didn't realize at first that Gary had got up and walked.
Gary got an attitude and got up. Yeah, he got mad. Like,
because you're gonna call me fat in front of Bet.
All I want to do is drink, eat, and have sex. Never mind.
And then she doesn't like to do any of those things.
He was like, do any of those. Like, what? So, but yeah, I was like, okay, Bet, once again, you're trying to set people up. So when she sets up Mark and makes him do the interview with Kate right then and there, she's already asking weird questions.
Yeah.
About your personal life. Are you married? You got kids? And I was like, yep, I know where this is going.
Yeah. And to his credit, Gary knew. Gary was like, what's he doing right now? Don't worry about it. She's interviewing the new me. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so you have some insecurities. I'm like, Jesus, bro.
I can get bad. And him and Mark's talking in the back.
Yep.
I can get bad. How bad can you get? I can get pretty bad. I'm like, oh no. And you already know. And at this point, we've already got a little bit of Marsh's history. Like, like if he suggests the wrong thing, he don't know Marsh is ready to go there.
Exactly. He was. Yeah.
Knows. And he's like, yeah. Sometimes you just need your thing sucked. I'm like, oh.
I was like, wait, who's gonna? I'm like, wait, and it's funny because like I watched this episode. So the first time I watched it, I made the mistake of just turning it on, and it got to that part. I'm like, what's going on? I didn't have context. Like, how did we get? Attention? Yeah, exactly. I was like, what? I was like, what's happening? Like they switching it. I was like, oh, I actually need to rewatch all of this and sit down and pay attention. So when I got to that, I was like, oh, so this is how we got here. And I'm like, so Gary, you might be. Are you a sex addict? Is that your thing? Like you just
Gary don't seem to care.
He don't care.
Whoever's willing to take it, I'll give it to him.
Pansexual sex addict, just anybody.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah.
This thing is E rated for everyone.
Yo, E for everyone.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then they start going crazy out in the main. And it seemed like everybody started going crazy at the same time.
Yeah, it was just like everybody's having sex. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And then I was trying to break down the whole situation between Judy and Bet. So I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. They're both in a type of state. You know, both their partners have left. Bet got rejected. So it just turned into more sex. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but she kind of acquiesced as if that was something she was amenable to, because she's like, well, like what? Someone like you? Like usually when you say, this person's not good for you, you should be with somebody who's like this.
Yeah.
And then Judy's like, what? You mean like you? And she's like, well, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And then get rid of
I don't know, baby. Why'd you do that? Then he kissed her. Because she kisses her.
Why'd you do that?
I'm like, what you mean?
For another.
Yeah. Like, okay. I'm like, you know what time it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody was getting action this episode. Yeah. I was like, and John's eating ice cream.
Yeah, that was
It
hilarious.
looks sad, like he's
Yeah,
just
my boy
mumbling
just went.
around with ice cream.
Yeah, he went for the industrial size vanilla ice cream. Just take it straight out the freezer. Got him a little spoon from the back. Sat down and just enjoyed his ice cream as everybody's just getting down in different parts of the little diner. And then everybody trying to kind of comes to their senses and like, what the heck is going on? And then what was it? Who was it? What was the kid's name? We got the interview.
Mark.
Mark was tripping after Gary starts jumping on him. What do you think
Yeah,
you
no,
can
Gary
do?
tripped. Gary, hey, they fighting.
Yeah, they started fighting. Gary gets him up off of him with a broken bottle to the neck piece. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah,
that'll leave
Gary
a
was
mark.
down. I was like,
That's a wrap.
he's dead.
He's like, it wasn't me. And then Beth's like, I don't think it was you. And then everybody looks at John. And I didn't even see it at first when he says drop the knives. Marsh has a knife too. Like all of them was about
Everybody had, they had knives and they was about to
I was
come
like,
at him. I
whoa,
was like,
what is
oh,
good? It went crazy. You know, it went the first Kingsman. Like when everybody starts going crazy in that church.
yeah.
It looked like it was about to go that direction. And then he, I guess he got the ruby still. He's like, put it down. And I didn't do anything. All of you were just doing what you wanted to do. Like it's your natural state. And they trying to tell him that, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not really a more honest world. It's a worse world. How is this? I think Bet even says, how is this better?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, for real. You just, I mean, it just breaks people down in just these base level primal urges. And I'm like, this almost seems like John's projecting his own view of the world onto,
it's
like,
exactly.
it's literally his dream or what he wants out of the world and not a more objective or biased look at truth.
No, and it was it goes back to the conversation between John D and Rosemary, where she was like, the different perspectives that they have on people. She was like, people act out basically because we're all on some level afraid, whereas John D was like, everybody's selfish. That's the reason for everybody's main actions, because they're acting only for self. No one cares about anybody else, so they act according to those motives. And so you got to figure that he's skewing things because he's got this magical object that makes his wish come true. So if he thinks of things in that frame of light, then that's what's going to happen, not necessarily what would naturally come about had he just left them alone.
Right.
He was upset. She kept calling everybody handsome. Like, you don't really.
Oh yeah, am I really handsome? I just want you to like me. I'm like,
It was
oh, here
hilarious.
we go again.
She was like, of course not. You don't really believe me handsome, do you? I was like, of course not. I just thought it was nice. Everybody needs to feel wanted. I mean, she's like, I'm just trying to be kind. Why can't I just be kind? It's like, isn't that better? No, you've been honest. You told me I look like, well, you want to start
I look like trash.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird, and then it just escalated really quickly after all of that.
Just violence breaks out. Or
yeah.
So, like, is he at this point mind controlling them to just kill themselves, take them out of this world? Like,
no,
that was bizarre.
I think he let it go at that point because they had all reached a point of no return. Like in their minds, they stabbed each other up, and the overwhelming feel of guilt. So they start mutilating themselves. Oh, girl offs herself.
Judy cut off her tattoo, but also slit her. I don't know. She slit her wrist.
Yeah.
And then
Kate slashes her neck.
Marsh cuts his fingers off.
Yeah. And then cuts his whole hand off. He's got, like, when you see him laying there, he's got a stump on his left hand. And
what's his face? Mark was hit himself. He nailed his hand down, then lopped it off.
Right? Yeah.
I was like, what? And then
it was just guilt.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I was like. Or because for me, it felt like, is it because he was like, all right, I showed you this world, now you can no longer like see anything else, and so now it's just like time for y'all to go. It was a bizarre thing. If it was, it would make sense if you just like, all right, it felt like this would be one of those situations where it's like, all right, I proved my point, now the game is over, but you all have to die. Yeah. And and Judy stabbed her eyes out. I was like, gee. I mean, not Judy. Bet stabbed her
Bet
eyes
did.
out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
And became like, and somehow
Three
like
witches
became
came
the
back.
Fates.
That was awesome. I was really happy about that. How all three of them became the Fates. I was like, oh, that's super cool. All right, that was dope. I wasn't expecting that.
Then they end this episode, I believe. Hopefully, I'm not mixing the two up. They end this episode with finally Morpheus catching up to him.
Yes, that was a nice way to end it too, actually.
Yeah, Morpheus catches up to him and plays a little game, and I don't know whether he tricks him into doing it or whether John just thought he was doing something special by destroying the ruby, therefore releasing its power, and it all went back into Morpheus.
Yeah, he tricked the shit out of him. That was
So
great.
he said basically yeah, because he had him in the dream. If you're gonna destroy me, you have to come to my realm to do it. So did he make him fall?
He got a Freddy Bird.
Yeah.
He's Freddy Krueger. He's like, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Gets wrecked.
This your kingdom, your palace, your
Dream
tower
Lord.
of gods.
Dream Lord.
Yeah.
And gets wrecked in there.
Yeah, he's burning everything.
Special effects was dope too. Like when he kind of immolated everything, the flame, it was like pretty cool. I was like, oh, this is nice.
I was waiting for him to fall. Like how much are you gonna burn? There's only little
right.
This little slab of cement you're standing on, like it's about to crumble into this molten lava. You do realize you're standing on that. And that was dope though, where he turned everything around, and all of a sudden you look up and he's in the palm of Morpheus.
Which is straight out of the comic. I saw like people had posted the panels, and that was like straight from the comic. Cool. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was like, dope. So when we got there, I was like, nice.
Andre doesn't like Morpheus's voice still because he's still.
Oh, what?
I think she feels it's too book narration like. Thank you. I mean, have thought of destroying.
I mean, it was
self.
He is a god.
Yeah,
that like makes the most.
He's not really a guy. He's more than a god. Or he's
an eternal being. They would be the ones to look at the world like an omnipotent narrator. That makes the most sense.
Yeah, it fits to me. I just know she doesn't like the narration. And I feel like him being around so much, at least conversationally, he would have a different tone and timbre when he's interacting with someone in a normal conversation. But he's like in monologue.
He really don't care though. But I get this. He's so detached from humanity.
Yeah.
Well, we find out more next episode. Well, he's super detached from humanity, so that's why I find it realistic when he kind of speaks in his very monotone voice. Like he's borderline condescending in a way.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah, so he gets his ruby, or actually the ruby's destroyed, and gives the power back to Sandman. So that technically, he's got all of his vestiges back.
He's back. Yeah.
He's got his sand before, and now he has his helm, and now the power from the ruby is residing within him. Because when it was destroyed, whatever he poured into it, because he said at one point he didn't realize how much of himself he had poured into it. I think he said that.
He did say that.
So let's take a quick break. And then we will come back and talk about episode 6, The Sound of Her Wings. Talk to you in a second. Welcome back to the second half of the Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
We are continuing our talk. We just spoke about episode 5 of The Sandman on Netflix, streaming right now. Spoiler alert if you have not watched at least up to episodes 5 and 6, because we're getting into episode 6, titled The Sound of Her Wings. And we finally get to see Death. We did skip over something, though. From the last episode.
Yes, what about it?
As Morpheus walks away, we see another figure saying, "I'm watching you, little brother," after he's got his power back from the ruby. I'm assuming that's one of the twins, Despair or Desire.
Blonde hair?
Yes.
That's Desire.
But there's 2 of them, are there not?
Didn't know they were twins, but I'm assuming that one's Desire who will.
Yeah. And they say, "I'm watching you, little brother," and that's how that episode ends. And we get another stinger at the end of episode 6, but it begins with Morpheus just sitting there in the park with his baguette,
Feeding the
He's
birds.
feeding the pigeons in some park while folks are playing soccer, looking all dejected and depressed.
I found all my things. Now what do
Yeah.
I do? Like,
Now what do I do? Like, yeah, he's finished his mission. Now he doesn't know what to do with himself. But I'm like, bro, you got a whole realm to basically rebuild. It's been destroyed like twice now because it was destroyed while he was away for 100
he's like, I've
years,
just been so
and it
angry.
was destroyed further
Hmm.
when John D went back there with the Ruby burning stuff up. Like, you got plenty to do right now, homie.
I think that he was sitting in that chamber for too long with that like vengeance, and
Yeah,
it consumed him. And then, because that's how I felt, I was like, oh, so you're no longer in this quest for vengeance. Now you feel like hopeless. So it's like, all right, how are we gonna get him back on track?
yeah. And I like Death. The funny thing is,
I
I
love
thought,
Death.
like, after that last episode, episode 5, which was kind of borderline depressing. Oh, now we're gonna sit up here and go around with Death. This is gonna be horrible. But it actually was a more
It was
kind of a
comforting.
lighthearted feel to her walking around to her various appointments where people were dying and not realizing it. It was like, take your eternal brother to work day, and he follows Death.
Come on, we're gonna go. Just
Yeah,
come
let's
to work
go.
with me.
Just, you can come with me. He's like, all right, I'll go. He's like, well, don't do me any
Oh.
favors. Yeah, I suppose I could go. It's like, man, lighten up, dude. Come on. And yeah, so he follows her around as she goes to her various appointments. Um, and I guess it's been something they've been doing for a long, long, long time. Uh, it's kind of cool how she knows everybody's name, and they kind of like. I was
Franklin.
I was, dude, when they went to the soccer game and old boy was basically trying to spit game at her.
Yeah.
Like, yo, how do
Yep.
you know? She says, yeah, maybe I can get your number. So I says, how do you know my name? She's like, yeah, I'll see you like
I'll see you
soon.
soon.
I'm like, oh,
Rewatching that, I didn't catch that the first time. So when I
yeah.
went back and I was like, oh, he's not gonna. Okay.
It was kind of cool though that it didn't happen right then. Like, she went back, she
Exactly.
goes to, I'll come back and get you, but you're on the list basically. And she went around to a few other appointments.
Visited my
Uh,
Jewish man's
the Jewish man playing the
who was playing the
violin,
violin.
the
I
baby.
was yeah, that guy, that when you said this is a lighthearted episode, it was like
It
weird
was
because it
still
was
sad,
like
but it wasn't as,
sad but weirdly
yeah,
comforting. Cause
it was,
like, and she says that often.
yeah,
Like, I remember like I really enjoyed that. Like she thought about her role in the
yeah,
world and was like she kind of realized like she has to be this kind of comforting forward face
yeah,
to accompany people in the death. And also, it's just even better that she's a black woman because we don't ever get to see black women in fantasy just doing
yeah.
cool things like being death and just like ushering souls to the afterlife. And like, there was a small detail. What was the name of the episode? The sounds of what was
The
the name
sound
of
of her wings.
it?
Did you notice the
They
shadows every time she walked off
yes,
camera?
every time she walked off with a with the soul, you would hear the flapping of the wings and the shadows expand. I thought that was like really cool, and
Yeah,
that was a dope name for the episode as well. It ties back to the name of the episode. But yeah, that baby had me messing like, no, not the baby.
yeah, because she was planning the whole. Mom was planning the whole day. I will go for a walk. If you could give mommy a nap real quick, and just please give me a respite, and then comes back lovey. I'm like, oh,
Uh-oh. I'm like, no. And then also Morpheus looks a little sad about it, which is interesting. Like, have you
yeah,
not
because
watched
he
people
cocked
die
his head like,
before?
oh no, we're not about to pick up the baby. She's
So
like, yeah, I'll be right back. Oh yeah,
gotta go pick up this baby.
yeah,
So she was seeing a lot of different people, which was kind of cool. And I kind of like that, like she was seeing different groups of people. Like, I mean, there was a woman in the hospital. We had a we had a another one. We had a white woman overdose on drugs.
dude
So
got
like,
shot in the street.
yeah, dude got shot in the street. We had the black guy swimming.
Yeah, he drowned.
He he didn't make.
Yeah.
He wanted to say bye. He wanted to give his wife the
Give me the
passcode
code from
to
the cell.
the
Let me get the
phone.
phone. He's like, I'm sorry.
She can't. How was she gonna get back home? I think they were from. I had a feeling they were from the states because they said they were on honey, or maybe they not. Maybe they weren't,
They were on their
but they did
honeymoon.
say they were on honeymoon.
Yeah.
And I feel like don't is it do people from UK have a different name for honeymoon like like they
Possibly,
call it
but
something else?
I don't think they were British.
Oh,
They
I
might not
had
have,
a feeling they were Americans though.
yeah, they might not
I
have
was
been
like,
British.
man, you and your girl was out here traveling internationally. You died swimming, and she need
As
the passcode to get back home.
as morbid as this episode is, on the emotional vibration level, it's a step up from the just depths of despair we were in. That's what I mean. But I don't mean lighthearted.
No, it was a step up. It was most definitely a step up.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
what I get.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I didn't know. I just didn't know witnessing like souls being carried to the afterlife would be this weirdly like calming. So I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a very good. It was also a very good episode.
It was cool as hell how they tied in the entire beginning of the show, though. Through the second half, after he goes around with Death on her rounds, and then she's like, "Where are you gonna go meet Hob?" And he's like, "Well, he probably doesn't want to talk to me because I was forced to miss my last appointment with him because obviously because he
I
was
was trapped.
imprisoned, yeah,
Ridiculous.
by Mr. Burgess. He was captured, so that's why he missed, which was ironic. And so that we have like a flashback to was it the 1400s or something like that?
1389 and go
Yeah,
all the way up to I guess 2019 or
yeah.
what would be the
It was
present day.
hilarious. Yeah, so we go back and
I mean
see
Hobbs.
him and Death go into this pub, and she's in like a frock, and they're treating her like a lady, which I thought was ironic for it to be the 1300s and this black woman in like,
Yeah, they just don't mind her, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, this is so fantastical.
she's doing her thing,
Great.
and just walking in, and he meets with old boys talking trash with a bunch of people at the
You
pub.
hear
And
them say Black Death?
yes, the plague.
That was kind of but I've seen the Black Plague, and then
Yeah,
her being a black woman and she's death. I thought that was
yeah.
like, oh, I'm
And
like,
you know they
oh,
reprise. The funny thing is, in that same pub, the same jokes kind of get reprised, but updated each time. I don't know if you noticed that.
oh. Are
We
you
talk about
referring to like Will Shakespeare?
the joke one guy's talking about the vicar, and the first time it starts, it's like a friar. So
Oh
each time
yeah.
it gets told, it's updated to a more modern version of the same joke in the pub, and they're sitting around, and oh boy is like, I don't want to die, and then they're sitting there discussing it, and she's like, I might just grant his wish, and
Yeah, he was bold.
he was like, oh, he'll take 100 years, he'll be begging you to take him away after 100 years. And that was a weird and kind of funny, the ups and downs that Hobbs goes through, because he's living the life at
He
first.
had money, so
Yeah,
I think his first 100 years he was just figuring it out. You know, he was just like, yeah, I was going around, I was fighting, going to wars, being a bandit, probably robbing people. We got handkerchiefs and chimneys now. I'm like, and playing cards. He's so excited about these things, which is
yeah.
hilarious. And Dream is kind of just like, oh, okay,
Like what else have you like? After a
yeah.
while, he's
He's
like,
like, you
what
do
else have you
anything
done?
else? And then we get to the next 200 years or next 100 years, and this man got money now.
Yeah, he's got
He got
money.
some
He
money.
had money a couple times.
Oh no, yes, yes, he had
We
money.
got
But
money,
the
went
first
broke,
time he
got
got
money
money,
again. Yeah,
got money. He had the black woman serving him lamb.
yeah,
I think we're introduced to Will Shakespeare.
yeah. He had a different name at
Shakespeare.
first,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, had a different name, Will Shakespeare.
Yeah,
And then we kind of see that kind of like Dream seems to be like taking notice of like different other mortals in the world, and he
yeah.
like basically he kind of walks off to go to Will Shakespeare, and so they have their little interaction.
This was a weird, like, Forrest Gumpian type of thing, because like everything had been touched. You know what I mean? They were like
Mhm.
dropping Easter eggs for a whole bunch of different stuff that was going to have major influence later down the line as time progressed. And then we see him get into an argument with Hob because Hob suggested the only reason that he comes every 100 years was
Oh yeah,
for
he was mad. Dude took that
friendship.
personally.
He's like, you dare. I'm like,
I'm not lonely.
yeah. The different little haircuts
Hmm.
that Dream had throughout the times was funny. I laughed when they got to the 80s and my boy stepped
Oh,
out the car with the cell phone and the slick back hair.
and the blazer. He had
Yeah,
the blazer on. Oh, like 1989. Wow.
yeah,
For me, I was more interested in when they went to I think 1789, where
yeah.
we found out Hobbs was like actually involved in the slave trade.
Slavery.
I'm like, I'm like, you're in the shipping. You said shipping, sir. I
Shipping,
heard you.
yeah.
Yeah, we were
He's like,
shipping.
yeah, we get these the Negro blokes and pack them in like
Like
sardines.
sardines. I'm like, okay. So someone's. I was like, I respected that. I was like, somebody was it because he's always like, I feel like that would make the most sense for an immortal person. Like, you have to kind of like, because he was investing in previously, like I think the previous 100 years he was like investing in like land, and he took his wealth from like fighting and invested in land, but then he lost it, and then got it back with slave trade.
Yeah, and
And
then lost it again, and then lost his son and his Emily and
yeah, he
Robert
lost
died
his
at
son.
20.
He lost his family. That was rough. But yeah, after he lost his family, the slave trade, he got to come up with the slave trade, and then we see Joanna
Yeah, that was
back
weird.
as
Joanna
herself. I
Constantine.
liked it, but I don't know. I mean, it would have been cool if we saw another Constantine, but I was like, I'll take it. I like the whole
My
idea
thing
of
is
like,
now is she an immortal? Like,
no, they just doing a cheap thing where like you have that person being
is that so?
reincarnated. That's
Okay,
like her great great grandmother or somebody. So
that's
she
weird.
just
With the same exact name, like
face
200
and
years
name.
later.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
That's exactly what I called it. I was like, okay, I see what y'all did there. Let's get to it.
because I was tripping
But
on that part. As I said,
I was like, what is her goal? Like she and that guy who drew them 100 years in the past, she pulls up the drawing and then
I
tries
was
to
like, is that
confront
supposed to be
them.
me?
Yep. Jew, I'm not even Jewish. Dude was like, I'm
I'm
not
not a
even Jewish.
devil when I'm not Jewish. I'm
Jew.
like,
So like
oh,
what? And then she has some henchmen who she thinks are gonna
what the
do
fuck they were
something.
doing? Because Hobbs
And then
took
apparently
Mollywop.
Hobbs had hands.
Oh yeah,
Hobbs had hands.
Hobbs Mollywop them quick in a hurry. Like, what you thought you was gonna
Glass.
do?
Splash in the face, distraction. Then I'm gonna subdue all of you. And then I was like, what was Joanna's goal? Like, was she gonna just like kidnap these immortals? Like,
Yeah, you're gonna work for me now. Because my thing, I thought at first was she was like, if she thought it was a demon,
why
if
not
she was like
expel
the
the
thing,
demon?
was she gonna try and exorcise them and bring them back to hell again? And then the other thing I was tripping on was if this is in fact, because you said they're basically reincarnations of the same person, but if this was the Joanna Constantine, how come she has no recollection of meeting him? When we see her a few episodes prior, I was like, this is weird that she didn't remember them if she saw them all the way back in this time.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I noticed when we do that, so they do that sometimes in film, where like they'll just like they'll basically have a character play a different ancestor or someone in the past. So I was like, that's what they're doing. He's not
Yeah.
immortal. He's just Joanna. Because then they said that she was descendant of Constantine.
Okay.
I would like to imagine that like this gets passed down. You have, you know,
I mean, but that can be taken so many ways, though.
that is true. That is
The
true.
Byzantine Empire, and then later Constantine, and then Constantinople. The name from the rulers that were named Constantine. So if he's a descendant, maybe they're just making this some type of bloodline that has always done this. It was
Right. That's what I was thinking.
interesting episode with Hobb and that whole thing, and then they bring it kind of full circle when you see the glass. He sets down the whiskey glass,
Yeah.
and I think it was at the one in '89
Yep.
because it had that weird like hexagonal shape at the bottom of the glass. Happens to be the same shape as a little bubble that had him in
Yep.
the basement, and you see him sitting in there butt naked again.
But they get trapped. They're like, you made me miss my friend appointment.
Yeah,
This is terrible.
and it was ironic too because he said, well, if I don't see you here in 100 years, that'll mean that we're not friends. So if I do see you here, that means that we're friends. And of course, because he was captured, he didn't show up, missed one of the appointments at least for the 100 years that he was captured, sitting in Mr. Burgess's basement the whole time. And then it was kind of funny where he goes to where the pub used to be and it had been moved. And
Yeah,
then
I was like,
he sees the
no.
arrows. The end is this way. He's following construction arrows down to the new spot, and homeboy is in there doing
The
paperwork.
new inn. It said the
Yeah.
new inn. The
Yeah.
new inn.
So that was cool. And he said, yeah, I guess, it can't be late meeting with my friends. And he said it, purposefully, like, yes, you're my friend.
It's like, we're friends, buddy.
Okay.
Like, oh, this is adorable.
Yeah. So they hook up, and then the episode after that, I think it ends, and that's when we get the weird stinger with either, I don't know if that's desire or despair. I'm thinking that might have been desire. What you
That's
see
Desire with
with
that
the
nice,
chest open and like
yeah,
the
the giant structure with the heart. That was
yeah,
cool. And
yeah.
I'm
So
like,
and we find out they're the ones that set him up to be captured.
yeah. So I was like, what? So we got to find out what happens next. I'm like, darn, Desire, what
So I
did you
wonder
do?
how they changed things to set up, because obviously the entrapment circle that the magician set up was specified that they were trying to get Death and not
Mm,
Dream. So I wonder how they divert, whether they taught him something and taught him incorrectly on purpose, so he thought he was doing one thing and did another.
that would make sense. I mean, they are like the endless, so
Yeah,
that would have made a lot of sense because he kind of took he would have taken advantage. Death, Desire would have taken advantage of Roderick's kind of vulnerability from losing his son. So why not
yeah.
just tell Roderick, yeah, this will bring your son back. You
And
just
he's
need to
like,
give us the endless death, and we're
I
good to
got the
go.
wrong one.
Nope,
Which
I
I
really
would,
wanted Dream.
yeah. That is crazy. So yeah, these were entertaining couple of episodes for
Yep.
varying reasons. Was not expecting 24/7 to go the way it went, and I was not expecting the sound of her wings to go, because I thought that I was like, oh, you're really going down the dark road now if we're just following Death around on her appointments. But like I said, it was kind of a step up from the despair we see the average Joe's going through at the diner in the last episode, and John just eating ice cream and watching it all unfold. And now he's back in the asylum. It looks like the same hospital that he was in was where, because he doesn't kill him in episode 5. He said, "Are you going to kill me?" He's like, "No, I'm not going to kill you." He leaves him because remember he goes out that same door. I believe I saw the security guard get splattered against when he tried to shoot John, and he had the amulet of protection on. So he's not. John ain't gone. I'm wondering if they're going to try and find a way to bring him back. And I have,
Corinthian might do
yeah,
some dumb stuff.
yeah, because I haven't read the comic, so I don't know how if that how it plays out in the graphic novels. So I guess we'll see. But these were good. So I guess we got a couple more players to get into with the twins.
Right. How many more episodes? So I heard they released 2 extra episodes. So are we
I know they
getting
released
this
a
will be
10th.
12?
I don't know.
Is it 10? Wait, was it originally 8 episodes or 10?
I think it was originally either 9 or 10, because I think the 10th episode is something to do with cats everybody's freaking out about online. It has
Cats?
something
Wait,
really,
got cats in it?
yeah, there's
Oh, this is
something.
gonna be exciting. I'm ready
Yeah,
for this episode. Can't wait till this
I
game.
have not, I've been good. I have not watched ahead, but I've seen some people talking about it online that it has a real significance to the storyline in the graphic novel. So
Oh,
it'll be
okay, cool,
interesting to
cool,
see
cool.
that
All right.
unfold. Yeah, good show so far. Still liking it. Still interested in the characters. We didn't hear. Did we hear it all from Matthew these 2 episodes? He didn't say too much. The Raven.
Oh, the Raven. I thought we heard him once in episode 5 telling Morpheus to get up off the ground.
Oh yeah, hey boss, hey boss. Yeah,
He said, "Hey, Mo."
wake up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. That was the last time I heard Matthew the Raven, and he was gone. We didn't really need him like that.
So yeah, it should be interesting to see how this goes. Thank you once again, man,
Of
for
course,
chopping it
of
up with
course.
me, talking these things. The crew hopefully should be back together next week to discuss episodes 7 and 8 of the Sandman. So if y'all out there, please check us out on Anchor, everywhere where podcasts are broadcast. They're either Anchor, Google Play, iTunes. There's a bunch of places. Overcast. There's a bunch of different places. Spotify is the main one.
Yeah.
Um, and also, don't forget to check out Trekkie and Beyond, where Andrea Rose Washington and Monica Pinkett are going through strange new worlds. We will talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.